Would it be fair to say that the web is moving from being information-centric to being knowledge-centric? Is that really what the semantic web is all about?
Well, I would say, to put it in a different phrase, where you have the Web 2.0, where the saying goes, content is king, or that was the saying. The semantic web is about context, and context is king. So it's about connecting content to content, people to content, people to people. And this interconnectivity, I think, is what it's all about, and about meaning, giving meaning to all the texts and all this information.
I absolutely think that the semantic web is really this movement from a data-centric view of the world to a knowledge-centric view of the world. And that knowledge is really effectively created as a result of millions and millions and millions of people that are sharing their experiences in an unsolicited way with, largely the sole goal of letting other people know what to do and what not to do. And from that perspective, I think that's where the real value in the semantic web is, in that it can really go a long ways in terms of personalizing the information access and the knowledge gathering part of a consumer's life.
And so to follow up on that point, there are a couple of initiatives out there that are trying to, within the travel industry, actually standardize data points, particularly around everything from content to you name it, it's out there. Do efforts such as these, without getting into debate of whether or not they'll ultimately be successful, but do efforts like these help your business models and help the semantic web, or do they actually detract?
I don't think that they detract from it. I think that, as it is with anything, you need a starting point. So I think these efforts, in terms of standardizing the experiences, creates a solid foundation for the semantic part of it, to begin. But I think that if we code everything very strictly to existing lexicon or existing set of criteria, then what you'll miss are emerging trends in a timely manner. And one of the really great things about social media today is that it's unsolicited, it's raw. You can't control what the customers are saying about you. Online, what they choose to share is very personal to them. And I think the semantic technology is really about quantifying that information in a useful way. So it would seem a little bit antithetical to actually start with a framework that would then reclassify all the social media that's out there.
Okay. We've got a question on the Speak Out board. Semantic Web searches text. How do we measure or integrate reviewer profile and motivation to give real value to the information for the user?
Well, I think ideally, it's a good question. I think Morris showed the Google box, and I think what semantic technology can do is bring this one box search experience that we all have come to love for more and longer queries. And that's what semantic technology is about. So ideally, you do not need to measure the reviewer's profile, but ideally, we understand what the reviewer wants and give him the perfect answer to his request.
And an alternative approach could also be the ability for you to be able to leverage the profile information to answer the type of questions that's along the line, what would someone like me do in a certain situation? So the profile information could further scope down the universe of knowledge out there to be just from the people that are like yourself, or that are the type of profile that you describe. And so I think that's one extension of the semantic web that could potentially prove out to be incredibly helpful in terms of the targeting capabilities.
Great. We've got a tweet up here. Won't the semantic web devolve into a battle about who can spin the context?
Well, as I said, ideally you do no spinning, but ideally you connect the correct content to the correct person, and then there's no spinning involved. I think there would not be acceptance if you would try to manipulate this process.
Yeah, I think it's actually very difficult to spin the context because first of all, the composers of these reviews, I think, would take great offense to it. And I think in a way, if a brand were to try to spin the context, that those efforts would cause a tremendous amount of backlash. And it's just not the way the web was designed for, and not really the primary reason why people create social media in the first place. So I think that this is actually an interesting scenario whereby I do believe that the web community as a whole is self-policing in this manner.
Okay. Today there's really what I would think we'd all agree is probably limited learning in real time. A lot of website development happens prior to actually going live, et cetera, et cetera. How does the semantic web change this? So how does the semantic web, how do your systems actually learn in real time? Can you give us some insight into how that process actually happens?
Okay. We don't come into it with any preconceived notions of what we're looking for. So the very first thing that we do, to even get to the point of understanding what people are talking about, is that we run a fairly thorough analysis on the existing public opinion out there to form the initial lexicon. And then based on that is really effectively the way we, that we're able to do the analytics.
Yeah, it's similar with us. We look really at the text, and that's why it's so powerful, because people have also looked at the text and have put them in lexicons, etc.